One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Tom Burman. Tom is the Director of Athletics at University of Wyoming. Greetings, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Now, Tom, you've been in your position since 2006, and of course, you've been in college athletics somewhere around 24, 25 years, so you're well experienced at leadership, at working and being around different leaders. Of course, Wyoming is your alma mater, so being there is probably something that you see as a source of pride in terms of where your career has led you to, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Going to undergraduate here was an important experience for my life and my development, and then the opportunity to come back and be the AD and I guess theoretically give back a little bit. But it's been a great experience, and I've loved my time at the University of Wyoming.
Excellent. I want to talk to you a little bit about just creating a culture for success, right, in athletics and really on campus. A couple of friends of mine have told me, friends in the industry, that, you know, you have a pretty good culture there for success and people like being there and want to be there. Can you tell me about some of your methods for creating and maintaining operational success there at University of Wyoming?
Well, first of all, I think you got to make college athletics is a hard business. You got to recognize that going in. The commitments, the time commitments are immense. The pressures are unique. You know, you look at coaching pressures that they experience, but I mean, in general, all staff and administrators in college athletics, I think, feel probably more pressure than the general public. So you got to recognize those challenges. And then I think the key to making it, creating a positive culture is to make it a great place to work. So have empathy, be a leader that has an open door policy, be available, have some understanding of the challenges coaches, assistant coaches, staff members go through, but also, you know, hold people accountable and make sure they're achieving at their peak, and trying to create that atmosphere where, yeah, we love you, but we need you to produce. And I think we're pretty good at that. We build a real family atmosphere here at Wyoming. We want you to bring your kids around. We want you to have an experience that's maybe different than you can get at some of the other schools in the country.
Now, as an AD, understanding the ups and downs and the challenges that coaches specifically go through, how do you embody that? Like, how do you relay that in your actions as the leader of the department?
Well, first of all, I'm not too emotional. I'm pretty steady, but that's my personality. So that part of it is fairly easy. I don't get too up and I don't get too down. I say it frequently that it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it seems. So take a breath and step back and figure out how to improve or figure out where you are. But I mean, just for example, we had a rough start to our volleyball season just the other night and got beat by an opponent that we never thought we would get beat by in an exhibition match in front of a very good crowd at home. So Monday morning, the first thing I'm going to do is seek out volleyball coaches or early in the week and make sure they're doing okay. Hey, it's one match. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and just say the right things. I think if you lose your temper and stomp around on the sidelines or you look upset, I think that just adds fuel to the fire. I mean, they know what they're there to do. They understand their job description, and they know when they lose matches they should win or football games they should win, that people aren't happy. But that doesn't mean you treat them differently.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I once was talking to an administrator. This was a few years ago. And he was talking about the football program at the university he was at. He was probably the deputy or number 2 or 3 there. And he said, yeah, we should, you know, our coach should be able to give us 7 or 8 wins this year. And me, my background is working with football coaches. To me, that's kind of problematic for, you know, somebody to put that kind of pressure, like these 8 games you should definitely win. Is that a dynamic that you talk about with the coach? Are there That interests me when he said that, and I've never followed up with that type of thing. But it was just interesting that that administrator had those expectations for that coach. this was in the summer before this even.
Yeah. I personally don't go through the schedule and say, hey, you should finish 8-4, or basketball, you should finish 20-11, or anything of that nature. I think, and I publicly never talk about, every year ADs go, what are the expectations for this coach? And when coaches are struggling, they may say, what is the expectation for this coach to keep their job? I'm never going to put a number on it, because I think coaches can do an excellent job some years and maybe only win, half their games. It depends on injuries, it depends on schedule, it depends on a lot of things. And if you're building, you're playing with young kids and you finish 500 but you win 3 of your last 4, that's a different dynamic than if you're a veteran team, you went 500 and you lost 3 of your last 4 and you got beat at home by your rival. I mean, everything changes depending on the situation, the scenario. So I never in public come up with numbers. I never would sit down with a coach and say, you need to win X. They're going to know what success is, because I'm going to define it as we go through the season when we meet. Try to meet as often as I can with our head coaches, especially in a couple of our sports, because it's, we got to be on the same page. We say it all the time here at Wyoming, and the football coach, the women's basketball coach, the men's basketball coach, we got to be lockstep together and really know where the other one is coming from and where we all stand on important topics and issues. And we meet frequently. Sometimes it's informal, sometimes it's formal, but we spend a lot of time together.
Right. Now, a few years ago, you had the opportunity to bring on a coach who was well respected in the profession to your football program. That's Craig Bowl. I know Craig a little, not very familiar, but a little from my time with the American Football Coaches Association, as he was on the board of directors. And he always came across to me as very even-keeled, which seems like it matches your personality, and probably defined success for everybody around him, and was very organized at his approach to things. I wonder, what has he brought to your university, especially after you look at it 2 or 3 years down the line?
Yeah, Craig has brought a level of professionalism and commitment, dedication to our football program that's been fantastic. He has really done a great job. You were spot on when you said professional, organized. He's gonna be prepared. He is a great, and I don't mean he's not a good, he is a great communicator. So he's very thoughtful in how he presents his story. He's very thoughtful in how he presents his tact, especially when he's in front of his team. He doesn't wing much when it comes to that. He knows that he's only got so many times in a day or in a year or in a week when he can address them and really get their attention. So he's very thoughtful and diligent in how he reaches them. Does the same thing. We went through a massive fundraising project, raised, in reality, built a $45 million facility that was for all student athletes, but has a real strong focus on football player development. And he was intimately involved in the vision planning, intimately involved in the solicitation, and just has a great sense of how to tell a story. So I would say, he's brought a level of professionalism that we're thrilled to have him here at the University of Wyoming.
Right, and when you talk about hiring coaches, I always wonder, and I've never been an athletic director or anywhere near an athletic director, right? But you can take away as much risk as possible. Sometimes in the end it comes down to luck. Are they going to fit, even if they've been successful in the past? I've noticed that a lot of the coaches you've hired, some of them have been on national championship staffs, won national championships. Do you feel relieved after 2 or 3 years that I made the right decision and this is working? Like, how does an AD feel in that position?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. You can kind of tell after year 3 kind of the trend and where things are going, and you feel good about the hire you made, or you may say, I might have missed. And ADs that think they have some incredible skill set to never make a mistake. Well, generally those ADs are at jobs where all the great coaches in the country want to work. So you're picking from the best. That's a little different than when you're at a place like the University of Wyoming, where you got to go recruit a candidate, and oftentimes you're going to hire an unproven candidate. Much more difficult. But fairly early. Now, I will say this: I've had coaches that started off a little slow and then finished really strong, and sometimes it just takes them longer to kind of either build their staff or build their recruiting base or whatever. But you still have a pretty good plan and understanding of how they're doing probably 2-3 years in, without a doubt.
And then your basketball coach, your current coach, Coach Edwards, I believe. Now,
yep, Coach Alan Edwards.
Yeah, and you had a unique situation. Was it a couple years ago where the coach that was in, I don't know if he was
Larry Shiat was our head coach.
Yeah,
and Larry had done a great job. We'd won a Mountain West Conference championship, into the NCAA tournament. I think he just tired of the time demands of college, being a head coach at Division I level, and had an opportunity to go to the NBA and worked on the Dallas Mavericks staff and jumped at it. And so we were searching. We had a really good culture, and we had been successful, so we hired from within and hired Alan Edwards. And in all transparency, he started off well, and last year was a down year, and I have absolute confidence he'll get it turned around. But we can't have seasons like we had last year in Cowboy basketball.
You mentioned that there's ups and downs and challenges, but that process of hiring, you interviewed some of the assistants on Coach Shiat's staff before he left, and that is a very unique process, and communication must be very clear with the head coach if you're going to interview his assistant coach for a job that he's still in, right?
Yeah, we knew. The good thing about Coach Shiat and I, we were very good friends, and so when he made a decision to step away, I had said to him, my goal is to stay within the program, and I'm going to interview all 3 of your full-time guys, and if at the end of that I choose to hire one, great. If not, then I'll do a more broad-based search. But he was aware of it, and he provided some input on each candidate, pros and cons, and was very supportive of that process. And the good news for us is during that transition we had very little turnover of of players, which in today's world, especially Division I basketball, if you upset the apple cart slightly, you're going to have 5 or 6 guys walk on you, and we didn't want that. Because we've done a very good job academically in kind of fixing an APR issue that we had a while back, and so we didn't want to start that all over.
Excellent. I ask one more question here, kind of along the lines of what you've touched on here with Coach Edwards. Obviously, he had a down year, but then other coaches on staff, some of them first-time head coaches, but had been on national championship staffs. Do they come to you about leadership and topics that outside of X's and O's, since you've been in a leadership position for a while? Do they lean on you for those type of things?
Some of them do, some of them don't. I mean, I think part of it is relationships and comfort level. Our women's basketball coach who just retired, Joe Legursky, him and I would talk frequently about, hey, how do I deal with this? What are you thinking? I'd give him some input. Coach Bull and I do the same thing. Coach Shiat and I did a lot of that. Coach Edwards now and I do quite a bit of that. So it depends on the coaching staff and the head coach and the relationship, but they know. I mean, the good news for me is there's not a coach on this staff, whether it's the golf coaches or the tennis coach. They know my door is open. I'm available to them all the time, and they take advantage of it.
Well, Tom, this has been an excellent conversation. It's pretty insightful on how you've tried to create and maintain that culture there at University of Wyoming. I appreciate you joining us on One Question.
Super, Ty. I appreciate what you do for the industry.
That was Tom Burman. He is the Director of Athletics at University of Wyoming. And, of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.